Today we're going to be focusing on creating a new you. And I'm thrilled and honored to have Dr. Denis Cauvier here, CEO and president of 3 companies, 9 best-selling books, and he's spoken to over 44 countries now. How many countries have you internationally?
Yeah, it's approaching 50.
Approaching 50 countries. He is an expert and well-known with regards to Forbes magazine, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and he's worked with African kings and Arabian chic, Fortune 500 companies, family businesses, small and medium companies, and several billionaires. Wow. You're a busy man.
I feel tired already.
So thank you, Denis, for joining me today.
My pleasure, thank you.
Yeah. And I'd like to start this show talking about a new beginning, and I'd like to start with looking at new graduates. It's a new beginning for a lot of people graduating from college, universities, and they're finding that they're either no jobs, or they're underemployed. And apparently, it's up to 50% almost. And over the past 10 years, this has been the worst for these kids. So we're gonna discuss that initially. And the first question I have is, given that new graduates don't have a lot of experience necessarily, and they feel they have little to offer the job market, what do you think the best skills to try and promote are?
Okay, well, even before getting to the skills is a great question, but I think there's maybe a step just before that. And it's an old saying, and I've said it for many years, I've heard other people say it, I don't know who originally first said it, but the concept is to hire for attitude and then train for competence. And this is advice that I give to employers all over the world, that now, again, it could be overdone. If you're looking at a surgeon, you want someone that's been to medical school, not just with a great attitude. But if you're talking about young people that are just coming into the workforce, I think it's really important that they have a great attitude and that they are what we call coachable, because with someone with a wonderful attitude that's coachable, they'll learn how you do business. Now that being said, then I think the ABCs come into play. Now I'm going to look at it from a slightly different perspective. If I was coaching an employer, I would say, have your job description. When you look at your job description, you have all your basic skills, competencies, accountabilities, duties, etc. Go through and ask yourself, is it absolutely critical that the person possesses this? That's A. Is it B, beneficial, or is it C, convenient? So what this does is this is a mechanism to prioritize what is the most important elements or skills or competencies that you're looking for. Now imagine if a young person did their due diligence, went out and did some homework, looking at that ideal organization that they really want to work for. They start analyzing the job, and if they can try to determine what would be the absolutes, what would be the beneficials, what would be the convenience, because at the end of the day, your top performers are people that will possess all the absolutes. So they may not have all the B's and the C's, but if they currently have the A's for that job, they're automatically, assuming they can articulate that during the interviewing process and on their resumes, if they can articulate that and back that up with something of substance, they're going to be at the front of the list.
Okay.
And now, if not, so if they don't, then say, okay, if I really care about this job, what can I do to go and get this? Now, here's some ideas. Co-oping. You can take a co-op placement. You can, in fact, I heard of a young person did this very recently. He really believed that he could do the job, didn't have the formal experience, so he said, listen, I'll tell you what, hire me without any pay for 1 month, and I'm going to basically volunteer myself on the position. I'm going to work so hard that you're going to love me, that you're going to hire me.
Wow.
And quite frankly, the entrepreneur thought that this guy was just fantastic. That he had the gumption to do this. They had such a positive attitude. He said, well, give it a whirl, no guarantees. 2 weeks in, he hired him for the position.
Amazing.
You know, but it's sometimes it's about being bold.
For sure, absolutely. And that's not always easy stepping out of university, right?
That's right.
Not at all. The other thing that I'd heard a little bit about was character, like define character. What do you mean by character and attitude? How do they portray that?
In fact, one of the things I have is an expression actually based upon one of the books I wrote. It's all about how to hire and retain great people. So then I take the word great, it's actually an acronym. So G stands for people that are goal-oriented. R stands for reputation, people of high integrity. E is people that are enthusiastic. A is for people that have an appropriate, positive professional attitude that's in sync with what your organization is all about. And T is for the tenacity. It's for people that are going to roll up the sleeves and go the extra mile to get the job done. So now when I'm talking to, for example, to employers, I'll say, well, show of hands, how many people would like to hire great people using that definition? All the hands go up. And I say, well, okay, what's the secret to do this? Well, number one, I think you have to have a great organization. That's where the employer of choice and your goodwill in your standing as an employer in your local community really helps you. And assuming you have a great, a great reputation, the second part is, what about you? Are you a great leader? See, I believe that people are drawing like-minded people into their lives. So the greater, as a leader, the greater you invest in yourself and your organization, the more attractive you become. On the flip side, if you look at it from this perspective, you say, okay, I'm a young person, I'm entering the job market, how great am I? Am I goal-oriented? Are my goals in sync with what the organization is all about? What's my reputation like? Even my social media, what's my social footprint like? Am I sending the right kind of messaging out there? Because a lot of employers, they're Google searching people. They want to find out what their e-print is out there. Am I enthusiastic about the job, about this opportunity, about the industry? Am I enthusiastic of servicing their clients, et cetera, et cetera? So you can use this as a little I love what you said earlier about looking from within. So look from within and say, well, how great am I? And realize when you are good. Go in there not with arrogance, but with some pride and say, yes, I am great in this area, and showcase it. However, the areas that you feel you're not, fine. What an opportunity. Invest some time and energy in those areas.
Exactly. And on a team, everybody can't do everything, right?
Absolutely.
So that's how the teams merge together, is everybody's strengths and talents are used. So we can't, and they're not looking for you to be able to do everything when they're hiring either.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the real, to me, I guess the glue that binds teams together, and I agree totally with what you're saying, Cathy. It's an old slogan that I think it applies to leadership, it could apply to parenting, relationships, whatever. And it is this: it's not about being right, it's about doing what is right. So in other words, it removes ego from the relationship. So now if we remove ego from the relationship, then it's really easy for all of us to play to our strengths and to also recognize and value and appreciate someone else's strengths.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so Denis, the next question is, when people are hiring, what are some of the really key deciding factors when making a decision between one candidate and another?
Yeah, and not everybody actually thinks as clearly as this ABC model I shared with you, but invariably, any person that invests the time and energy when they're hiring right, they will have, in their own words, they're going to know what the fundamental elements are. In other words, successful people in this particular job possess this, this, and this, and they don't have this, this, and this. So it's a question of determining, is the foundational stuff there, skills, mindsets, etc. And then above and beyond that, what are the other additional benefits that somebody brings to the table? So fundamentally, if somebody takes the time and gets beyond that first gut impression and actually takes the time to delve into what the person brings to the table, that's really what it's all about. Now, one of the things, it's a technique that I believe Dick Bowles in What Color's Your Parachute talks about this. I think this is the source. Years ago I saw this. He talked about doing active fact-finding interviews. In other words, as a job seeker, why not do some sort of fact-finding interview with different people, whether it's HR or somebody at the front desk of this organization?
You mean as a student? Or you search out.
You search out and maybe talk to their competitor, or talk to different people, not just HR, within that company or organization you're looking for, but get a sense as to what reality of the job really is. What are the key strengths that someone would have to have? Then ask yourself honestly, do you or do you not possess this? And if you feel you do, now you're better equipped to market yourself. Because it is an exercise in marketing yourself. The key is to be authentic and real in your marketing. If you feel that you're falling a little bit short, why not even a minute? But share with the person that's interviewing what your strategy is to resolve it. Fully disclose your strengths, disclose wherever your weaknesses are. You're a young person. A good organization will value your integrity and your honest approach to that situation.
Excellent. Yes. And another thing I think that's really valuable is emotional intelligence, the soft skills, right? That I think that people that are hiring are looking for good communication skills, good team, besides the attitude and character.
Absolutely.
Right?
And some of the other skills, and I agree with all those, we talk about foundations of good leadership. I think selling skills, and not that necessarily everyone's going to go into sales, but and Bill Gibson shared this with me. Bill Gibson, another speaker, great friend of mine. His quote essentially was this: "If you're alive, you're in sales." And the way he looks at it, and I've heard other people positioning it this way too, and it really resonates with me. The concept is this: is that the art and science of selling is simply the ability to influence someone else to your way of thinking. So a lot of times people have this bad rap about selling. Oh, it's something bad, it's something you do. No. Selling is neither good nor bad. It's your integrity and your intentions behind what you're doing that'll make it a good thing or a bad thing. So becoming a better salesperson, a better negotiator, a better leader, to be of more positive influence over others. These are critical soft skills that will serve anyone through their career, particularly if you want to move up through the corporate ladder.
Okay. Good. Very good advice.
Yeah,
yes.
And one of the things also, if someone's brand new and they're looking at the first couple of years on the job, ask yourself, what are the Achilles heels of the organization relative to your position? In other words, where can you go above and beyond your core position and bring real value to the table? People will see the value you bring, but also actively seek out mentorship opportunities. In some organization, there's a natural culture of lifelong learning, and somebody will offer to be your mentor. If someone does that, embrace it. This is a good thing. But not every organization has a formal, structured approach. So actively seek people that you could trust, that you respect who they are as individuals, as human beings, but that can sort of take you under their wing and mentor you. And it's such a great way to fast track your career. And one of the beautiful things is later, people that have been mentored invariably become mentors to people in the future. And it's a pay it back thing.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Great. Okay. So then, how important is their network, these students coming out?
Oh, it's critical.
Critical.
You can't. Let me package it this way if I can. This is what I say to employers. If you're trying to get the best and the brightest of young people, you either have to do one or two things exceedingly well, or else you're invisible. You either have to be somewhat networked in with these young people, or you have to have a fantastic social media presence. If you don't have either, you're invisible. So the flip side of that is equally important. What's your social media presence like? And are you portraying yourself in the most favorable, positive light? Also, what is your personal network like? So, personal network, get involved in some business mixers if you're into the business field. Get involved in, a great way to develop your resume, also get practical experience, is give back. Find a charity, someplace that you have that there's a link with you personally. Give back. It's a nice thing to do, but you're also going to link in and get networked with like-minded individuals while building your skill set.
Right. Yes. And I'd like to go back to a point you said a few minutes ago and add that your core value as a person needs to, as much as possible, be congruent with the company's values.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, if not, in fact, we were talking about this before the interview, the idea of toxicity in the workplace. And you see, and to label someplace toxic may be, I don't know if it's fair or not fair, but it could be toxic to the individual if it's out of alignment.
Right.
So I don't want to judge an organization, I don't want to judge an individual by calling a person or an organization toxic, but if there's a misalignment, it definitely is going to be a painful experience. One of the things, and this is a humorist down in Texas, he says, and I'll try to use my Texas accent, he says, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck and it looks like a duck, it ain't an eagle, it's a duck. And to me, the point is facing facts. I believe if you're an engaged individual and you have pride of being part of the team and you see something that is incongruent, you want to do something as an adult to try to resolve it.
Right.
And maybe you can, which is a good thing. But despite your best efforts, if you cannot change it, realize it's a duck, it's not an eagle. And for your own sanity, find something else. Because it's impossible to be totally engaged in something that is a toxic environment for you. whether we're talking employment, whether we're talking one-on-one relationships, or we're talking about intimate relationships. It's just simply impossible.
Excellent. Okay, we need to take a quick break, Denis.
Okay.
We'll be right back and talking more about toxic environments, what to do, talking about engagement. Don't go away. Good.